pay attention or get a chance to learn from other people that are on the journey. So this week, we've got Joel Kelly. I got it right. Nice. Joel Kelly with Live Local Organic. Amazing value on the audio through Tim, who is actually another presenter that has a catering company called Sport here in town, which is awesome. He grows aquaponic basil and has become kind of becoming a leader in the aquaponics society, which is awesome. So I'm interested in finding out a little bit more about that and also about his business. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Joel. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. So yeah, my name is Joel Kelly. I'm the co-founder of Live Local Organic. I thought I'd start just by giving you a little bit of background about myself. I went to school at the University of Oregon and studied entrepreneurship. I was involved in some direct sales companies that kind of got me interested in entrepreneurship and the idea of working for yourself, being in control of your own schedule and making money for yourself. My plan initially was to just get a regular job after school, pay off student loans, and save up some money to start my own business. But then I was approached by my uncle there, also in the picture, and aquaponics was actually his idea originally. He had seen it a few years back at one of his daughter's open houses at her school and kind of got really interested in the idea and did some research about it. When I graduated, he approached me and basically said, I'll help fund it if you'll run it. And being an entrepreneurship student and loving entrepreneurship, that was kind of really exciting for me. So I was like, yeah, you know, that sounds good. So we started Live Local Organic. We started out basically just in a small greenhouse on my uncle's property, just to kind of work out the kinks and get an idea of what aquaponics was all about. We also took a class to learn just the basics of aquaponics and then made some changes and did some minor innovation from there to perfect our system that we use now. Aquaponics actually comes from the words aquaculture and hydroponics. It's basically combining the raising of fish with hydroponics, which is growing plants without soil. The way that it works, it's a nice looking diagram for everybody. The way that it works is you have a fish tank underneath a grow bed. And there's a couple different types of aquaponics. This is just the type that we do. The fish waste contaminates the water in the fish tank. So what we do is we use a water pump to pump the fish waste water into the grow beds, and the plants consume the fish waste. It's obviously really healthy, really natural, very powerful fertilizer. And then by eating the fish waste, the plants purify the fish water and it drains back into the fish tank. And so it's just kind of a symbiotic cycle between the plants and the fish. It uses about 5 to 10% of the water of conventional farming, which is one of the really exciting things that we, I guess wanted to use it for, especially down south in California where they have a lot of water shortages. A lot of that happens because of agricultural things. A lot of farmers need the water to water their fields, and then they drain rivers and lakes and things like that, and it has pretty damaging effects on a lot of the environment. So one of our long-term goals is to go down and help out with that. So like I said, we took a class initially, learned the basics of aquaponics, started our greenhouse to work out the kinks, and now we're in a 6,000 square foot warehouse in southeast Portland. We have 9 grow beds, each with its own individual fish tank. And each of the beds can produce approximately 5,000 basil plants per week.
Wow.
We sell the basil plants for about 60 cents per plant to stores. We put anywhere between 3 and 5 plants in a bag and then sell it to the stores for $3 a bag. They in turn sell it for $4 to the consumer. So they have between, depending on the store, some sell it for 4, some sell it for other prices, but generally between a 25 and 33% markup on the product. Initially, when we were first starting out, funding obviously is one of the biggest challenges for startup companies. We looked a little bit into going and getting outside investment, but what we eventually came to the conclusion of was I mean, when you just have a concept and it's just kind of an idea, it's a lot more difficult to leverage and work with investors and get a good deal basically on your business. So our plan was and is to start up 2 profitable locations. We're on the first one right now, and then after that, seek outside investment to take it really big. And then we felt like that would give us some more leverage with investors because we could show that we were already profitable in 2 locations. So initially we started a Kickstarter, it failed, and then we leveraged some bank loans and different things like Home Depot credit cards that have no interest for a year and things like that, and basically just used lines of credit and loans to fund the first part of it, and then obviously some borrowing capital. And then this is the minimum viable product. So this is a 6,000 square foot warehouse that we have in Southeast Portland. It's actually technically in Milwaukee, but it's close enough to Southeast Portland. And you can see these are all the basil plants that we have growing and our grow beds and nurseries and stuff like that. The most expensive part of aquaponics is the electricity, or most expensive part of indoor growing is the electricity, and then also the second thing is the rent. So those are the 2 main things that we have to pay for. Everything else is pretty minor. The media that we plant in and the seeds and everything like that it adds up to maybe 5 to 10% of our monthly costs. Some of the challenges that we've gone through that we didn't see coming into it were bugs. We were thinking that with indoor growing, you're obviously away from a lot of the environmental factors and bugs would be a problem. And then we encountered the thrip, which is pictured right there. And those little monsters ride on all kinds of other bugs, and so they can pretty much get anywhere that bugs are. And so that decimated a lot of our crops early on, and we had planned to, again, work out the kinks before we were profitable, but that took a toll on a lot of our crops. And the difficulty with aquaponics is that you can't use any sort of chemicals on the plants. So with something like hydroponics or obviously conventional farming, you can use organic chemicals if you want to be organic, or fungicides and herbicides and things like that. With aquaponics, any type of chemical will kill the fish, even if it's organic, even neem oil, all that kind of stuff. It'll have a really significant impact on the fish. So the difficulty was in getting rid of the thrips without using chemicals. I ended up, after trying all different kinds of methods that I found online, I was at Home Depot and I bought a big roll of masking tape. There was like 5 different rolls of masking tape, and I laid them down in our beds with the sticky tape part up, and that has worked wonders. It was the most simple and ridiculous solution that I didn't think would ever work, and it ended up working. The other difficulty was in having enough nutrients for the plants, because with aquaponics, the smaller fish don't eat as much as the big fish. And so there's this kind of difficulty that you have to figure out, because when the fish are too small and they're not pooping as much, they're not providing as many nutrients to the plants. So initially there's not enough nutrients for the plants, but then once the fish are large, obviously there can be too many nutrients for the plants. And then if that is the case, then the contaminants go back into the fish water. So it's kind of this balance that you have to find. And that took a little while to work out. Initially, a lot of the plants were really spindly and they were really unhealthy, and we couldn't figure out why, and it was because they didn't have enough nutrients they were starving. And then the last thing, obviously USDA becoming certified organic and stuff like that. We're not certified organic yet, so when we sell in stores, we're selling it as Live Local Basil. We wanted to be certified organic, so our website is Live Local Organic, and our company name is Live Local Organic and everything like that. But we have to be really careful about using the word organic. It can't be printed anywhere on our label or anything like that, because then that would be illegal. And so, I mean, the process of being certified organic is fairly simple. It's not all that expensive, but we were having some challenges just with some of the paperwork, and one of the companies, without getting into too much detail, one of the companies that we were working with wouldn't release an ingredients list of what was in their products, and the USDA needs a complete ingredients list of everything that you're using in order to certify you. So we recently changed companies and are in the process of being certified right now. We sell currently in New Seasons and Food Front Co-op. It's a local co-op here in Portland. They have 2 locations. We're in 11 of the 15 New Seasons locations in the Portland area, and then both Food Front locations. That process was actually relatively simple. I've heard a lot of horror stories about New Seasons, how it's like so difficult to get products in there and stuff like that. But with something like local, sustainable produce, it was actually fairly simple. The thing about New Seasons is because they have difficulty finding any kind of local products and stuff like that. Obviously, in Portland, it's kind of a food desert, so anything that was produced locally was really good, and they were really on board about it. And the interesting thing about this company and this field specifically is I was kind of expecting, because I'm used to the main difficulty in a business being selling your product and getting your product out there and convincing people to buy it. But in this company, it's actually the opposite. We have way too many people that want to buy our product, so the difficulty is in producing enough to fill all of those orders and producing it efficiently enough to be able to be profitable. So that was another thing that I kind of had to adjust a little bit, because I mean, if you bring locally produced kind of organic basil into a store and say, hey, I want to sell this, they're like, yeah, give us all you can as long as it's good. And so that was kind of a little shift that I had to make with that. And that's about it. Any questions? Yeah.
I'm wondering about you talked about electricity, and are you guys doing, grow lights are expensive, I know that, but now they're doing I guess LED, specific parts of the spectrum for specific things. Have you guys looked into that at all, or?
Yes.
Sorry, I was just listening to a podcast about this, and then you're talking about it.
There are actually, another thing that's exciting is there's actually grants available for people that we're using. What we're using is metal halide lights. And for people that are changing from metal halide to LED, there are certain grants that can help pay for those as well. So we've looked into that. We didn't do it initially because just the cost. I mean, each metal halide setup that we have costs, I think, $160, and we have 45 of them. And each LED unit would cost like $1,500 per. Yeah. So it was just the initial cost was we wanted to get up and running and be profitable, and then to take advantage of the grants to help us switch over. Right. But, yeah.
And then, can you do anything with the fish? As they're getting bigger, do you end up selling them, or
yes.
What kind of fish are they?
They're tilapia.
Okay.
I should have said that probably. That's the other cool thing about aquaponics is it produces a vegetable source and a protein source. So when the tilapia get big enough, we eat them or sell them. We found that Mexican markets in stores and Asian markets in restaurants are the biggest customers for that type of fish. They eat a lot of tilapia. So we've been in talks with them, but the fish aren't big enough to sell yet, so we haven't started that process yet. But it'll be a whole other thing.
Do they taste like basil?
No. Tilapia is a really mild fish, so it kind of just tastes like whatever you cook it with. So it's nice. It's good.
So you said you have too much demand. I assume you experimented with raising your prices.
Yes.
What can you talk about? What happened there, or why you kept the price where it is?
So the thing that two of the stores that we're in raised the prices up to $5. They sell for $5, and then we would sell it for $4, and the demand just plummeted. So it's just the kind of thing where the consumer won't buy it for over a certain amount, but because the end user is the consumer, of course, but our customer is the store. So we have a ton of people that would love to buy it at $3 a bag, but then when you get up to $4, I mean, it's just, we haven't done a whole bunch of experimenting with changing prices, but we just saw when we did try to raise the prices a little bit, the demand kind of, so we stopped.
What do you feed the fish?
We feed them organic fish pellets, which are actually, that was another difficulty. That was really, really hard to find because fish food is prevalent, obviously, but organic fish food is tough because the main ingredient in most fish food is like soy or corn. And so that was a really, really difficult thing for us to find. And it's actually not required. You don't have to feed them organically, but we do just because we think it's better.
And then do you have a problem with the bigger fish eat the smaller fish?
Yeah, that was when we didn't have enough nutrients, we just added more fish to the system. The ratio that you're supposed to use is approximately 1 fish per gallon. We have 660-gallon tanks, and we had 300 fish in there initially, and they got pretty big. And then we added 300 more after that, so that there would be kind of a difference, basically in age of the fish. So when we harvested the first fish, there would still be some fish in there afterwards. But then exactly what you said happened. When we added the new fish into the first tank, the older fish just started frenzying. So we had to separate them for a while, and eventually, after they're separate for a while and they kind of get used to each other, then they don't eat each other. When they know that it's not food, because they're not typically carnivorous, but when they see just a little thing swimming around, they think that it's food. So they have to get used to each other. But yeah, that was a big loss for us.
Did you say that your uncle was like a pioneer of aquaponics? And I'm wondering, like, hearing you talk about the fish, how much of aquaponics and what you need to do to have a successful setup is documented and out there, or are you sort of, how much of it are you figuring out as you go? And who are the experts, and is your uncle a starter, I guess, was the question.
No, my uncle doesn't know anything really about aquaponics.
Really?
Don't tell him I said that. He would disagree with you. But no, he kept a separate job to help fund. He works full time, and he does a little bit when he can, but it's going to be running it, and then he will help fund it. He's not a pioneer at all. He just saw the idea and thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
Aquaponics is actually a really ancient process. It's been around, I think. There's some controversy about who originally started it, but it was either the Aztecs or somebody in Southeast Asia.
I was going to say, the Aztecs.
Yeah, they would use it. They would plant things on their lakes, and that's how they would grow for a lot of their really huge cities. And so it's been around for a while, and it's just starting to regain popularity in the farming community because of the advantages associated with it. There are a lot of different experts, but right now the market's so fragmented that there's so many different ways to do it, and nobody's found that one way that it's like, this is how to do aquaponics correctly.
Mm-hmm.
There's like seriously countless different ways to do it, and so different industry experts are experts in different types of aquaponics. Like, I don't know all that much about aquaponics, but I know a lot about our specific system, which is, it's a flood and drain with a bell siphon and a calibrated air displacement pump and stuff like that. So there's all these specific pieces within the aquaponics field. But yeah, a lot of it is documented. If you go online and do your research, you can find a ton of different ways to do it. And if any of you guys ever want to learn how to do aquaponics or start up a small system of your own, you can just send me an email and I'll tell you everything I've learned so far.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So why basil, and have you thought of any other herbs?
Yeah, so basil, specifically because it's a cash crop, it's very profitable. You can sell it for a lot of money when it's not that much. Basically, what we came to is initially we were going to grow lettuce, and we have approximately 360 square feet of grow space per bed. You can grow 1 lettuce head per square foot of space, and if you harvest that bed once a week, then you can sell a head of lettuce for approximately $1 per head. So that'd be $300 a week. But we can fit around 14 to 15 basil plants in 1 square foot of space, harvest it in the same amount of time, and sell it for 60 cents per plant. So it's just much more profitable. It's also very hardy and very easy to grow. If you have different hiccups initially and they don't get watered for a couple days, they're really good at coming back. And so that's kind of why we chose basil initially, and then we kept doing it just because it's profitable. Eventually, we do want to start doing fruiting plants, which we have successfully done in our greenhouse that's at home. We've grown peppers and tomatoes and cucumbers. You can grow anything in aquaponics except root vegetables, so like carrots and onions and stuff like that don't grow as well. But the other thing is there's different light requirements for fruiting and vegetative. So fruiting, when a plant starts fruiting and starts producing flowers and stuff like that, it needs some red light. And if you give a vegetative plant red light, it will cause it to do the same thing, which is fruit. But for a vegetative plant like basil or lettuce, for fruits it goes to seed, and then the leaves turn bitter and it goes bad. So you have to have different, either a wall set up between 2 spaces that are doing different types of plants. Or location. Part of your question, different types of vegetative plants we are experimenting with. We've done cilantro, parsley, shiso, different types of basil, and then some kale and some dill and some fennel. That's kind of just experimentation.
You mentioned the meetup that you did and the tour. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I just got contacted by, there's an aquaponics meetup in Portland, and they asked if they could come take a tour of the warehouse, and I didn't know anything about it, and so I said yes, and I thought there was going to be like 5 to 10 people there. There ended up being like 60 people who showed up, and they all like asked me all these really detailed questions, and that was the funny thing about it, is because like they think because I've got this big warehouse and I'm producing all this stuff that I know all this stuff about aquaponics, but most of their questions I was just like, I don't know. I'd be like, why did you do this specific thing? And I'm like, we just tried it and it worked.
Have you bought tape?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think that your advantage then is that you're a local and high quality? Because it sounds like there probably is somebody out there who can do this more efficiently, right? That's a bigger scale and has been in the industry for longer.
Right. So our big advantages, yes, are local, really high quality. Eventually, you're going to be organic, also very sustainable. And then one of our biggest advantage is producing indoors. So we can produce basil year round. Right now, most of the stores they're selling basil, they get it from either Hawaii or Mexico.
Oh.
So that's our huge advantage. And then just the ability to go into the store and deliver it every week and know the produce managers and things like that. That's a really big advantage for us. I saw a question.
My understanding is some fish farming done overseas is a way to get rid of garbage, right? They do it kind of like cows are grass fed and corn finished. They garbage feed prawns and tilapia, and then they corn finish them, and that's why occasionally you get a tilapia that tastes like garbage. Have you done any analysis on if you could take some of the waste from some of the organic locations that you're actually at and feed your fish that?
Some of the like plant matter?
Plant matter, fish matter, right? So if organic salmon go bad, right, they gotta throw it out.
Right.
So you're there anyway delivering stuff.
Right.
You throw it in a different truck or something
Make
like
your own
that, bring it back and feed your own fish.
We've when we did the meetup, somebody actually that I met did that. He would use rotting fish or whatever and make his own pellets. We were in talks with that a little bit, but we haven't really tried it right now because with our projections we can be very profitable, but just selling the basil and doing what we're doing right now. So our goal right now is to get to the point where we're very profitable and efficient with what we're doing now. And then there's a whole bunch of different other things like what you're talking about to make us more efficient and more profitable we'll do at that point. But yeah, that's one of the big things that we're going to want to do is using all the waste matter, so the wasted plants or another thing is we filter out all the fish waste. So what actually drains into the beds is just water with the nutrients in it. All the solid matter stays filtered out, and we can sell that because it's very, very strong fertilizer to like farms and things like that. We haven't started doing that yet either. But yeah, the whole tilapia eating garbage thing has been a big problem, and we're kind of another solution for that.
And my other question is, how do you deal with all the moisture?
Dehumidifiers mainly. But that's another big problem because moisture and mold and things like that. So yeah, we use dehumidifiers to do a lot of it, but then also in the summer when it gets really humid, we're just going to have to ventilate, and that's another issue if we're growing.
Do you have any help, or is it just you?
It's just me right now. Yeah, and that's kind of tough. I mean, being in a warehouse alone all day. But we're gonna hire somebody new soon.
Yeah. So you said your goal was to expand to California, or go bigger scale. Do you think you can do this in an outdoor setting or a greenhouse setting, or what are you thinking there?
Yeah, absolutely. We can do it in outdoors or greenhouse. I don't know. It all really depends on the climate, and I'm sure each climate's going to be different. Like Northern California will be different than Los Angeles and different things like that. So I think we're just going to have to take it as it comes. But there will definitely be some huge advantages, especially in electricity, for growing outside and using a lot more sunlight instead of just all art.
Yeah, you said one of your biggest costs is your rent, your building, so if you can either eliminate that or reduce that to a type of structure that your rent's a lot lower, you know, then you can
Or,
probably go
yeah,
bigger
or use
scale.
natural light
Mhm.
to.
Exactly.
Yeah, those are two big things that we're wanting to eventually.
So I was wondering, to sort of scale this thing, based on the local side of this, have you sort of considered that scalability as like a franchise model, since it sounds like you're running the whole show and you can basically set this up and get people in other towns doing this?
Right. Long-term plan is basically to have a 10,000 square foot warehouse that supplies no more than a 20-mile radius. So it's hyper local. Instead of having, one massive warehouse in the middle of a city that supplies everything, multiple warehouses around. So we've thought about the idea of franchising. I don't know what we're gonna do yet. Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, it's all gonna depend on how things go within the next year or so, because that's when we're gonna expand our warehouse to 10,000 square feet and then open another 10,000 square foot warehouse. So, yeah, I'm not sure what we're gonna do with that, but we've thought about franchising a little bit.
Okay, one last question. Usually warehouses have a lot of volume as far as ceiling height. Is there a way to layer the plants where you can have multiple growing on top of each other?
Absolutely, and we want to eventually do that. It's difficult because you double your costs that way, so that's why we haven't done it yet. But yeah, we eventually will look into a lot more vertical farming. And there's other ways too, basically building walls that can fold down and up that have plants on them, and so you take advantage of all of the lighting and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of potential to make it a lot more efficient.
What is the material that the plants are in? It's not soil, it's
Gravel.
gravel, okay.
Yeah, there's a couple different things you can use. We chose gravel because we found a company that would wash it, and when they say washed gravel, it's not actually washed. There's like a really thick layer of silt on it usually, and you have to hose that off. And we did that in our greenhouse at the house, and it took like a month just for basically half of one of the beds that we had. So it took forever. So we found a company that uses it to, they glue gravel together, and then they use it for landscaping because the water will flow through it, so you can have brick, but then it doesn't hold water. I don't know. But they needed the gravel to be really clean in order to do that. So they have this really intense washer, and so I just called them and I was like, hey, can I just buy some of your gravel after you put it through your machine? And they said, yeah, so I did that. But there's all kinds of hidden issues that you don't think about until they actually happen. For example, the gravel that we use contains limestone, and limestone greatly increases the pH of water, and so our water pH was sitting at like 8.5, and we're trying to get it down to at least 7, and we couldn't figure out. We kept on, adding different things to get the pH down, and we just raised back up, and then finally figure out the limestone is what's doing it. And luckily, basil can grow in a little bit higher pH. But there's all kinds of, especially with something as technical as this, all kinds of just different things that you can't know until you try it and figure it out.
What were the businesses that you were involved in college? You said like direct sales.
Yeah, vector marketing. I sold Cutco.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I had a lot of fun with it. I liked selling, and I actually became a branch manager with them and ran a branch of Vector.
How did you feel about going from something that didn't require a lot of inventory to having this warehouse that you're responsible for, and something that could die, took up space?
Yeah, it was different.
Didn't scare you too much, like the bugs, that kind of thing, just being able to throw off your projections?
I think I wasn't as scared just because we'd planned for it and we expected that it was going to happen. I didn't go into it thinking that okay, we're going to be profitable right away. Like our first crop is going to be awesome. We both, me and my uncle, pretty much expected that the first crop on all the beds would be a throwaway crop. So we just didn't expect anything out of it. We got a little bit out of it from farmers markets and stuff, just what we could salvage from the plants that actually were good. But yeah, we just kind of expected that there wouldn't be a lot of production out of that.
How long did it take you to go from your first prototype, I guess, your house, to profitability? You are profitable now?
We haven't paid back our loans and things like that. We're at the point where we're starting to make money. But yeah, we haven't reached break-even point yet. We started September of 2013. We started doing research. We built the greenhouse December of 2013. We moved into the warehouse May 15th of 2014. So it was pretty fast. We got 1 or 2 cycles out of the greenhouse that we had, and we got the cycles through the winter. So that's how we knew that we could keep it warm enough and still be profitable. But yeah, it went kind of fast.
Do you know if aquaponics is being used in the marijuana industry? I think that there's, I mean, I'm not suggesting that you'd want to take on the risk of getting involved in that because there are so many pitfalls with that, but could you somehow leverage the knowledge that you've gained to, maybe sell that or help people that are interested in starting grow operations?
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities for that, consulting and different things.
Yeah.
Aquaponics and hydroponics is mainly used in the marijuana industry. And that was a difficulty that I encountered when I was finding warehouses to rent. And I would say, hey, I'm using aquaponics to grow herbs.
Yeah, right.
Is that okay? And they're like, what kind of herbs are you growing? I promise, it's just basil. But yeah, no, that was. I think probably every single person that's ever come into the warehouse has said, you should grow wheat.
I don't necessarily think
no,
that.
I mean, it's fun, but it's funny. It's just one of those things, I guess. And we've considered it actually because it would be so profitable.
Yeah.
So much money. But there's a lot. Our setup isn't set up to grow marijuana. There's a lot of different things that we would have to do. We'd have to have like deeper wraps and more lighting and all these different kinds of things. So that's kind of the main reason that we've stayed out of it. And as far as consulting, since I haven't had any experience growing marijuana, I wouldn't feel comfortable like giving somebody else advice about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's opportunities like that.
How small can it go? Like, can you do aquaponics, right? Like inside a home? Like, can it be that small, or is there a certain size that it really needs to be to become?
They have fish tanks that are like this big, and you just grow plants on the top of the fish tank. So it can be, I mean, that setup is literally just like this. And then you can build your own and make it, as big as you want. So it can be, there was a company that was experimenting with doing it in a jar, like super, super small. But yeah, pretty much any size.
I understand you can grow plants on water, like that's obviously, but like, I'm just curious in terms of like your system where you're actually filtering it through and cleaning the water this way, like, is there a certain size that it wouldn't make any sense at some point? Or could you, I guess what I'm like kind of backing on from a sec, could you guys market something that's like an at-home type of thing where this is our system, we've tested it on plants, we haven't tested it on your plants, we've tested it on plants, and we could sell you these 6 parts to make it yourself?
Yeah, we've looked into that a little bit. We haven't done that for 2 reasons. The first is that the information that we learned in the class that we took is proprietary.
Okay.
So we couldn't take advantage of that just because of legal. I mean, we could because. Yeah, they would know. And we've made changes, so I mean, it would be fine. But the other thing is that that's just a completely different business model.
Right.
And there's a lot of competition in that business model at this point. There's a lot of people selling consulting services and selling their own setups for aquaponics.
Okay.
But there's very few people that are using it just to grow and selling the products of aquaponics. That's why we like that.
You mentioned testing. How many different things do you test for in water?
Are we getting?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's just finish up.
Oh, okay. We test for basically when fish poop, it creates ammonia. And then there's a bacteria in the water that turns the ammonia into nitrites, and then the nitrites into nitrates, and then the nitrates are with plant seed. So we test for ammonia, nitrites, pH, temperature, and that's it. We tested dissolved solids in the water just in the beginning, but that was just an initial test. Now we don't test the water that much.
Okay, well, I want to thank Joel for coming on. So one of the last things that we always end with 1 Million Cups is that sound. No. So what can the community hear do to help you? What can we do to help?
So, I mean, one of the big things for us, obviously buying basil if you ever go to see, but just educating people about aquaponics because it really is a really good way to grow food. It's in a lot of ways better than conventional farming. And as long as people know that, they love it. So yeah, I'd say just knowing what aquaponics is and being educated about it, doing your own research, seeing how awesome it really is. That's one of the biggest ways that can help us right now. That's what we're really working on right now.
Okay, great. Well, I'd like to spend the last few minutes, as we've kind of done, just go around the room and talk a little about who we are, what brings us here. I see a lot of familiar faces, so it's not really too new. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is David Stockman, not to be confused with Dave. We'll try and bring on somebody else that has a D name. But my company is Beer Picker, and we're making slow but steady progress towards a beer finding app. And once it's live, I'll hopefully be out there telling you all about it. So that's a little about me. And then why don't we start over here?
My name is Jed. I work for a company across the river in Vancouver called Clearside Studio. I'm an accounts manager there. We're a software technology firm, so we specialize mostly in mobile applications and web apps, and the design and the development behind them. So I actually found out about this specific meetup, if you will, from a couple of my colleagues. I worked with the pioneers before me, so this is my first time here.
Cool, thanks.
My name is Justin. I'm a designer and strategist for Clearsight. I work with him. It's my second time here, and it's great hearing about your business. Definitely like to try it out. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm Isaac Holmgren. I'm also with Clearsight. I'm an accounts manager there as well. So, just here to get to know some cool business ideas, I guess, and how you're making stuff happen. And also, I think the rest of you guys that was here last week and really enjoyed it. So, that's what I'm doing.
My name is David Ray. My first time, I was invited by Dave. Excited to be here. Really enjoyed your presentation. I own a media and events production company in town. We produce things for the city, like Ted in Portland. We're always looking for ideas to spread. Great idea.
Okay, let's do up here.
Oh, my name is Bruce Rogers. I'm a designer, illustrator, and also have created an iOS app called Life Pilot.
Called what?
Life Pilot. It's in the beta test right now.
I'm Andrew Osterberg. I run a company called thesocialghost.com, and we are ghost bloggers, so we write content for clients for their blogs so that you don't have to and they get full credit for it.
My name is Eric Paulson. I'm here with Paul, my partner. This is our product called the GURP. So we're bringing that to market. It's nice to get inspired by some cool projects we see here.
Yep. All in good. The inventor of GURP and just here doing the same thing, holding down the fort, taking notes.
Nice.
I'm Joan. My company is called the Rector Desk and making standing desks in Southeast Portland, almost Milwaukee, and in a warehouse. Yeah. Know what you're talking about, being alone in the warehouse too long. And here to talk to other people starting businesses, hear their challenges, and get energized by their successes. It's my second time to Million Cups. Really enjoying it.
My name is Corey. I make small batch marshmallows. I think that speaks for itself.
They're delicious though.
Yes,
Thank you.
My name's Sean O'Brien. I own D Surface. It's a web development consultancy, and I am located here at Forge, which is why I'm here. This is my second time, and thanks. This is really great.
I'm Benjamin. I sat over here this time because I know those three guys against the wall. Last time I keep getting confused with them. So I don't work there. I'm not as techy as them, but I like to see people ship stuff. I write a blog and I love getting here and hearing ideas, talking to other people, meeting people, trying to build a network up so I can take the lead. So.
My name is Doug Godfrey. I'm a financial advisor, business and personal. I'm inspired by all this. I enjoy it, and with their business and growing your business, being successful. And I hope I can help you with your business and personal planning.
Hi, my name's Dave, and I'm a dream killer. Actually, what I do is I help people take their innovative products to market. Sometimes that includes telling them that, it's already backed by someone else, or the proprietary isn't all that proprietary, or they can buy that. Kind of a full circle, looking more on hard products, not a web developer, not an app developer, I make things.
My name is Tang Tran, and I was at the aquaponics meetup.
I remember it,
you did a great job, so I just want to make that comment. I work with a company called Firescape, and we make apps for firefighters, specializing in pre-planning work for them. So this is my second time here at the Million Cups, and it's great. Thanks.
Thomas Roth. I'm retired and work as a mentor for startups, and also involved with the accelerator programs down in Valley. One other thing.
That comes back to me again. Dave Barkos, I have a company, startup brand. That's my full-time deal. Apart from this, which is my other full-time deal, finding presenters and bringing people in for awesome stories. So again, Joel, thank you very much. That was awesome. I want to take just 1 minute to talk about our sponsors. Forge Portland gives us his space every morning. You are more than welcome to hang out here and network and get to know each other and talk more. It's a co-working space that has private offices, semi-private offices, and hot desks. Just a great location, great group that's in here. And they also have partnered with business services. So there's a core group of mentors that comes around to help work with businesses that are in here instead of just renting a desk. So great spot. I want to thank them. Outside of that, thank you very much. It was a great presentation. I love it. Like I said, I get inspired as well. Oh, yes.
Sorry. I just work in this office, and so I hear you guys all the time.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that I belong to a Toastmasters group, and we're looking for new members, and this seems like a perfect group to propose that to. So if anybody has been curious about Toastmasters or want to work on their presentation skills, come talk to me. The group I belong to, we meet every Sunday at 4 in the Laurel Thursday. So if that would work for you, please talk to me, and I'll tell you more. So.
Yeah, that's great. That actually brings up another point. I try and kind of give everybody a chance to talk about events that they know that are going on. I know of Startup Weekend B2B, which is coming up. I don't have an exact date, and I was just told that there's a Startup Weekend Latino that's going to be happening in June. Outside that, I know what Van Techie is going on tomorrow night, and there's a hackathon this weekend in Vancouver as well. You didn't know about it.
Not aware.
I just found it at Meetup.
We know about it now.
What?
We're catering that hackathon.
Are you?
Yeah. There's some good food there.
Now I know I'm there. Awesome. So if anybody else knows of any events, let us know.
There's a big event tomorrow morning by Wells Fargo, Start, Run, Grow.
Start what?
Start, Run, Grow. It's helping small businesses if they need funding or whatever. There's going to be a lot of people there helping them talk through that and looking for different sources.
Okay.
Is it actually like pitching ideas, or is it getting help on how to pitch ideas?
It's getting help. Yeah.
And where's that at?
I believe it's the Sentinel Hotel here.
It's the Hilton.
Oh, that's right.
It's the Hilton.
Yeah, that's right. It's the Hilton.
Awesome. Perfect. Thanks again, guys, and come back next week. And bring more people. I love to see this. It's a great group, and I love to see it grow. So.
Yeah, great job.
Thanks, guys.
We are, as a society, moving forward.